In this video, we're going to talk about activity 9-4, and it deals with absolute gauge and vacuum pressures. All pressure measurements are differential pressure measurements. Gauge pressure is the difference between a pressure measurement and the ambient atmospheric pressure. Absolute pressure is the difference between a pressure measurement and a perfect vacuum. Vacuum pressure is the difference between a pressure measurement and the ambient atmospheric pressure when the pressure measurement is less than the atmospheric pressure. So here's atmospheric pressure, which is 14.7 pounds at sea level. And if you had a gauge, and one side of the gauge was at atmospheric pressure, so maybe we have a little gauge here. Has two ports. One's measuring a pressure and the other's open. So if this pressure is lower than this pressure, the gauge reads negative. If this pressure is higher than this pressure, the gauge reads positive. So we're always reading that differential pressure. In the case that we're reading the absolute pressure, you might not actually have a physical input, but you're still. So in the case of absolute pressure, you have your pressure that you're measuring, and there might not be a physical output on the other side, but just imagine there was, and it was referenced to vacuum. Same exact thing. Okay, what is the absolute pressure equivalent to 150 psi G, that means gauge, and psi A, that means absolute. So all we need to do is add 14.7 pounds to this one. So the absolute pressure, PSIA, equals PSIG plus 14.7. That's, and in every case, that's what we're going to do. So this is 164.7. What is the absolute pressure equivalent to 4.3 PSIG and PSIA? So we're going to add 14.7 to that, and it's going to turn out to be 19. What is the gauge pressure equivalent to 101 psi absolute and psi-G? So here's my formula again. We want to know this instead of the psi absolute. So I can rewrite this psi-G. I think they're writing it in small letters. I probably should too. Minus 14.7 equals psi absolute. Okay, so 101.7 minus 14.7 is 87. Number 4, what is the gauge pressure equivalent to 90 psi absolute in psi-G? So the gauge pressure is going to read 14.7 pounds less than the absolute pressure. So I just take 90 minus 14.7, I get 75.3. Number 5 says, what is the vacuum pressure equivalent to 4.3 psi absolute in psi vacuum? And we're going to subtract off 14.7. And so this is going to show a negative 10.4. Now I would point out that you can never have a vacuum reading below 14.7. So minus 14.7, vacuum would be a perfect vacuum. And if you get a number smaller than that, then there's a mistake somewhere. What is the vacuum pressure equivalent to 14.7 psi-A in psi vacuum? So we're going to have 14.7 minus 14.7 is 0. So what they're really asking is, what's the vacuum pressure equivalent to this atmospheric pressure? Well, it's 0. That's the reference point. Okay, that wraps it up for 9-4. Have a good day.